What kind of madman opens up a comic shop in the year 2025? Who has these ideas? Who thinks that it's a smart thing to do? I don't know, but I'm sure glad there are people out there that are doing it, because where would I be buying all of my comic books and making my comic book haul videos? Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another video with Swaggle. And in this one, I just went to the newest, hottest, greatest store in the Las Vegas area, Red Hood Comics. That's right. They had a grand opening this past weekend, and I got to head over there and actually check out the shop. Picked up a bunch of books. Got to give a big shout out to Rob, the owner of the store, the person who started Red Hood Comics, and then has moved over now from being a full-time dealer to now a full-time retail comic shop owner. In this video, I wanted to talk about some of the books that I picked up. Maybe I'll cut to some footage and just talk about, the overall experience I have at comic book stores these days. For me, I think I've mentioned it on the channel a bunch of times here. Like, of course, online buying is probably the best way to find, some of the more eclectic, more rare things that you may want to add to your collection. Certainly for a lot of Golden Age books, that's going to be your best bet of where you're going to be able to find those things. But at the same time, personally, I find that buying at comic book shops is still the most fun I have when it comes to hunting comic books and just, taking in the overall experience. Don't get me wrong, I love going to comic book cons. I enjoy very much the social aspect of comic book cons, but with all the hustle and bustle and going from one vendor to the next and all the stimulation that comes with being in that environment, I personally find that I enjoy shopping for comics and doing the hunting most at comic book stores, which is why I wanted to go to Red Hood's opening, pick up a couple books, maybe give him a little bit of support. And hey, he's going to need it. I mean, based on all the numbers and transparency he's had with what it takes to open up a comic book store, which later on in this video, I want to show you guys some of the numbers he talked about. But until we get there, of course, if you guys could like, comment, subscribe, I would appreciate it. Helps out the channel. But Swag, let's get into the haul. What did you pick up here? The first book I picked up is one that I usually always buy anytime it is being sold at a decent price and it is in decent shape. And one of the reasons I do that is because this book is just always in demand. Of course, I'm talking about Uncanny X-Men number 133, the first solo Wolverine story within the X-Men comic book run. This is a really, really nice copy. I probably would grade it out to be, 9.2, 9.4, 9.6. Within the near mint range. Rob had this one being sold at $80, which I thought was a pretty fair price. Leaves a little bit of meat on the bone if I ever decide that I want to get this thing graded. But a really, really cool cover right there for Wolverine. It's kind of a classic, from this era. Really, really cool to get these books when they present really nicely. And shout out to Rob, at his store. I'll probably cut to some footage of this, but this is insane to me, okay? He literally puts his entire raw inventory in Mylars. Okay, like one of the most impressive things about his shop that I took away right from the get-go is how organized and clean it is. I mean, that's him. That's like his whole entire style. That's always been the way in which he operates his booths. So I would expect as much, with him opening up a retail shop. But man, is it a lot of work, a lot of effort to literally go through every piece of inventory, make sure that it is bagged and boarded in Mylar, make sure that all of the dividers are specifically separated. I mean, we're talking about like, Silver Surfer Volume 1 to Volume 2 and breaking up like Spider-Man runs and Avengers runs so that it's neatly organized. I mean, I feel like that's something that maybe when you're starting a shop, you can sort of, open up with that. I certainly hope that they're able to keep that up, throughout the coming years. If they can actually make the inventory always this organized, I will happily go to Rob's store all of the time to see what he has in stock, because he had a lot of amazing books, including this next one that I picked up right here, which is Daredevil number 37, the classic Daredevil Dr. Doom cover right here. Now, this isn't necessarily like a super mega key, but one of the reasons why I picked this one up is that it was such a nice grade of this. All black cover, really tough to find this one in super high grade. Now, he actually had this one listed at $150. Got a little bit of a store deal because he was having his grand opening. And he has these like nifty things where he actually puts the grade on them right here on the back. Check that out. Red Hood Comics 8.0, very fine. So not all of his books have this grade on it, but I find that very convenient that he put that there. And at an 8.0, I thought he was being kind of harsh with this one, to be honest. I mean, I'd have to look at it. It depends. It depends. But, being the price that I paid for it, being how tough it is to find this one at that high of a grade. Like, I mean, the copy itself is just beautiful. I felt like I had to pick this one up. Just a really, really nice book. You know, a lot of the sort of Silver Age black covers, I'm getting really into them. I mean, these are some of the books that I have the most fun coming across in person in the wild. It's just like a book like that. Like anytime you see like a Daredevil 37 Raw, this all black cover, and it's like at least in like an 8.0 or higher grade shape. I don't know. There's something about it that is like so cool to see that. Maybe it's just because like, you know, you can always find these books in lower grade, but you don't usually see them in that higher grade. And especially you don't usually see them in that higher grade raw. Like they always have kind of like a facsimile feel. And that's why I'm always attracted to them anytime I come across them, which is similar to the reason why I picked up this one right here, which is Silver Surfer, number 14. Buscema cover right there. The first meeting of Spider-Man and the Silver Surfer. One of my all-time favorite covers. This is literally, I think, I don't know. Personally, I might put this in a top 10. As far as like Silver Age favorite covers are concerned, every time I look at this book, every time I come across it, I have to buy it. It's just one of those books, especially if it is in what he called a 7.0. But I think he's being a little harsh. I mean, there's a decent spine tick right there, you know. But I think that outside of that, you know, you give this book a little bit of a tender love and care. I think you could definitely get better than a 7.0 on this one. But really cool to get these books, you know, the ones that have the black covers right here in high grade. I love these two books. I kind of feel like, if I'm being honest with myself, maybe I'm speculating on them just a little bit, you know. It's a little bit of like the Silver Surfer and Doctor Doom. I kind of feel like these characters are coming. And I know I'm not like that much of a speculator. I'm not really relying on the movies. You know, I'm not really relying on the movies, but I don't know. I feel like the Doctor Doom stuff, maybe it's going to be a little bit crazy. But I like Doctor Doom, and I like Silver Surfer too, which is why I bought this next book right here, Fantastic Four, number 72. Classic Jack Kirby cover right here. Now this one, he had being sold for $20, super, super cheap. And the reason he had it at 20 is because tiny amount of color touch. Tiny amount, just down there in the corner. I'm thinking about just like cutting this off. Would that count as trimmed? Like, can I just take a blunt knife and just slice off the color touch? I don't see why not. Should I dog ear it and then tear it off? Are there any comic restoration people in the chat right now or in the comments that can just tell me, like, can I just rip it off? It's like a tiny corner. It's like, you know, you take out this little corner right there and then boom, the color touch is gone. Either way, I thought that was good because this is a really nice presenting. If it wasn't color touch on it, I'd say that, you know, 5.5, 6.0, 6.5, I don't know, something in that range. So I feel like I got to just, you know, peel off that little corner. And then you have a nice classic Jack Kirby cover right there. Are you guys excited about the Fantastic Four movie? All right, next book I picked up for myself is one that I think has really, really fallen off. But I still think that this is a great cover and a really cool character. Of course, the book I got is Marvel Spotlight, number 32. First appearance of Spider-Woman. You know, a lower mid-grade, probably like a VG fine. Has a big color break on it. Got it for $30. I thought that was such a good deal. Considering at one point, this was a book that like you couldn't find this for less than, I don't know what, like $125. Like that was like beat up copies were being sold at that price range. I mean, everybody was going crazy for this character. Now, there's a lot of these copies out there. 1977 book, not particularly hard to find. But I kind of feel like Spider-Woman has been a character that Marvel has fumbled throughout the years. Like, it feels like she should have been bigger. You know, the Jessica Drew version of this character, I think she's cool. Double agent, you know, spy situation going on, Hydra, and also working for S.H.I.E.L.D. and her whole story and all that. I think that there's so much more potential with this character that we've never really seen, you know, in comic books and in movies and all that. I like her character design. I mean, we've had Spider-Gwen, we've had Silk be successful. Why wouldn't Jessica Drew be successful? Maybe it's because they turned her over to the Julia Carpenter version in Secret Wars, because probably the real reason was that character probably didn't sell and nobody liked her during the 70s, and they were like, let's rebrand her to a different character in the 80s, and then nobody liked that character, and now there's a bunch of Spider-Woman characters that nobody actually knows who they actually are, because aren't they like Madam Web now? And I guess now the Madam Web movie has completely ruined it for everybody, so never mind, that book is totally worthless. All right, let's go on now to the next book that I picked up right here, which is another one that has really corrected pretty hard from, you know, some of the first copies that I had of it, but this one right here, Marvel Spotlight, number 6, second appearance of Ghost Rider. I mean, Are we forgetting how cool Ghost Rider is? I think we are. I think collectively there are characters that the entire comic market has completely disrespected. Totally disrespected. You know, and those characters are Superman, Ghost Rider, and Punisher. Do you guys remember in the 90s, Ghost Rider and Punisher were like literally the two biggest characters. It was Wolverine, Ghost Rider, Punisher. When we were growing up, those were the biggest characters in all of comic books. Okay, and Spider-Man, but like not counting him. It was those three characters were goated. They were bigger than Captain America. They were bigger than Iron Man. They were bigger than everybody else. And I feel like everyone has forgotten. Just like Superman. Everyone forgot about Superman. But I haven't forgotten. I still think they're great, which is why I always pick up this book whenever I see it. Got this one for $30. Not a bad looking copy. I mean, again, the Mylars make everything look good. Shout out to Rob for putting everything in Mylars. All right, last book I wanted to share with you guys here today was another one that I got at my comic book haul, and then we're going to take a look at Rob's store, and I want to show you some of the numbers that it took for him to open up his store, which I thought was cool to see. But this, for me, is what solidified my respect to his new retail store, and one of the reasons why I will easily call it the greatest comic book shop, certainly in all of Las Vegas, definitely in the entire state of Nevada, and probably the greatest store in the world. And the reason it is because he had a Darkhawk annual #3. The very hard to find last annual of the series. Got it for $10. Rob, you fool. You could have sold this for $1,000. What were you thinking? Jokes aside, Darkhawk 49, Darkhawk 50, and annual #3. Those are the hardest books to find. Those are worth more than #1. In all seriousness. And anytime I come across them, I always pick them up because there's a bunch of Darkhawk people that have to complete their set and they have to find this book. And it was a low print run, more scarce relative to other Darkhawk books being, printed earlier in the run, and certainly at this time, which was like 1995. I mean, we all know what happened to comics in 1995. Things really started to fall off. So you have these books that are actually pretty difficult to find, but people want them because they need to complete their sets. And, the Darkhawk set is actually a really fun one to complete because there's only 50 copies. There's only 3 annuals. So it's very, very doable for people out there who are fans of Darkhawk. And, every time I find that one being sold at a pretty decent price, I will always pick it up. All right, so that was my comic book haul. Before I wrap up the video, I want to share with you guys maybe a little bit more of, what I saw at the shop and all the cool things that he was able to put in it. But I also wanted to share with you guys Rob's Instagram post right here, where he actually talked about what it took for him to open up his store. I thought that this was actually pretty cool, pretty interesting overall. In fact, actually, let me move my self over here, and then we can actually take a look at these numbers together. So Rob had this to say: the final piece, and while there were more costs than disclosed, here's the final total of all the major components below. Excited to reveal to you all of what my wife, my father, my friends, and I built in just a few months' time. See you Saturday for the opening. Updated storefront startup costs. So this is what it takes, or at least took for Rob, to open up a comic shop in 2025, if you guys are curious. Initial lease deposit, $5,600. Then he had to do comic bins, of which he has 27, where he spent $17,550 for them. Of course, you guys see right there these red bins that he put together specifically for the Raw comic books. Next up, electrical work, lights and audio, $2,400. Security system and cameras, very, very important, as we've seen, a lot of people breaking into those Pokemon stores. $13,700. Computers and security monitors, $6,200. POS system, $600. Flooring, $7,900. Painting, $4,600. Sign, lightbox, and window graphics, $4,700. Security gates, $4,800. Platform and front counter setup, $2,200. Steel and aluminum J channels, $2,100. Display case and mannequins, $8,200. Store total final, $80,550 as far as an initial startup costs in order to get the store up and running. $80,000, of course, that's just to start it, and then you would have an empty shop. But then there's also all the other costs of course, having the inventory, which, at this point, Rob probably has, I don't know, like easily $1 million of comic book inventory. He tends to actually always share his numbers every time a tax season rolls around. He'll talk about like how much he spent, how much he paid to send books into CGC, his cost basis into things, his collections, what he's actually was able to sell. So it's all really interesting numbers if you guys are sort of into that sort of thing, to see what it takes to kind of run a comic book business at this level. Certainly is not cheap to do. I mean, this is why the comic book industry is so volatile for a lot of retailers. Anyways, that's all for this video. That was me sharing my comic book haul. Congratulations to Red Hood for opening up his retail store. If you guys are in the Las Vegas area, definitely go check it out. Highly recommend. Anyways, that's all I got for this one. Let me know what you guys think about your local comic store. Thanks so much for watching. Like, comment, subscribe. See y'all in the next video.